How did you come to work with Bill Withers and produce that record?
Bill Withers, another example of how talent floats its way into Los Angeles. Stax Records was purchased by Gulf and Western, and the deal was brokered by an African-American businessman named Clarence Avant, who was a friend of Al Bell's. And Clarence called me one day, Booker, there's this guy over in Inglewood building airplane toys, and I think you really need to hear this guy, or at least listen to his songs. Can I send him over? Send him over. He came out to my ranch wearing big old Brogan shoes and overalls, and because he's a carpenter. Bill Withers is a carpenter, still a carpenter to this day. But he walked in with a notebook thick full of songs, and all of those great songs were in that notebook that day. Lean on Me, Happy Day, but the one he sang for me was Ain't No Sunshine. He started singing that, so I walked into the next room, got on the phone. And I started calling Memphis. I called Al Jackson to come out and play drums, and called Steve Cropper, he was busy. Called Stephen Stills, he came to the studio, and that's how it happened. We walked into the studio, we were over here in Selma, or Yucca, one of those little studios over there, and Bill walks into the control room and says, Booker, who's going to sing these songs? I said, you are, Bill. And that was the beginning of his career as a singer. He walked right back out in the studio, walked up to the microphone and sang the whole record. Yeah.
Mr. Jones, how about some more words about Al Jackson?
I didn't hear you.
Could you have some more words about Al Jackson?
You want to know something about Al Jackson? I'll tell you about Al Jackson. I was at a kite contest, maybe I was 7, 8 years old, Memphis, Tennessee, Lincoln Park. Had worked on my kite for weeks, newspaper kite, with a big Christmas ribbon on it. And it was out in a park, and there were other kids in the kite contest. And off to the side, under the trees, there was a band playing with trombones and trumpets, trombones and saxophones, upright bass, guitar, and a little bitty kid playing drum. It was Al Jackson Sr.'s band. And I heard that music, and it just took me over. And I skipped on over, let my kite go up to the sky. And it was Al Jackson Jr. playing drums in his father's band. And he was an excellent player then. He must have been 13, 14 years old, because he's about 8 years older than me. And he just set the standard there in Memphis. So that was my first interaction with him.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm from Memphis too, and I was wondering what do you miss the most about Memphis?
What was your question, sir?
I said I'm from Memphis too,
Yeah.
and I was wondering what do you miss the most about Memphis?
What do I miss the most about Memphis? I know what you want me to say.
No judgment.
This food-related question?
You want me to say the barbecue.
Right. So
But I
vinegar
quit
barbecue,
eating meat a while ago, so it's not that anymore. Memphis is just such a warm, special place. I was there a couple of days ago. Didn't hardly recognize anything, but the sense of community, the warm sense of community, and the sense of support for kids is just so beautiful. It's still there with the Stax Academy, and that was what supported me. People took care of me in many ways and helped me with my education, and that's what I miss. Beautiful place to grow up. Or live.
Or make a bunch of records, right?
Or make records, yeah.
All right.
Thank you both for this event. You mentioned Steve Cropper, and his minimalist style of guitar playing in the MGs is just as recognizable, instantly recognizable as your Hammond playing. And I wondered how much influence you might have had over the development of his guitar playing, his guitar style in the band.
What I have to say about him is the most original guitarist, arguably in the United States at the time. He made his own style and created it, and it became one of the main elements of Booker T and the MGs. and copied now, all over the world, especially Europe. Just such a great originator, and the first to play guitar the way he did.
And it sounds like you're not taking credit for it, right? I mean, it's something that he came up with himself. The question was sort of that both of you had a minimalist, understated style, right? Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you're saying he came up with that on his own, far as you could tell.
Yes, it's so different from the organ. Minimalist guitar is so different from minimalist keyboard, because he's a minimalist rhythm guitar player.
Right.
I would say the Stones owe him a lot.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. That makes perfect sense, yeah.
And I'm trying to think of someone else. Keith Richards, he's one of the Stones, right?
Definitely, yeah.
There you go. Bill Justice, I'll say that. No, not him. Bill Justice before Steve Cropper. Just the Memphis Sound, I'll put it that way. The Memphis Sound owes Cropper so much because he adapted it to so many types of music, so many types of blues, and so many types of R&B.
And so many people came to Memphis to record there, including the Stones, because they liked the sound that you and Cropper. I mean, the Stones, I think, originally recorded some stuff there, as well as Aretha, obviously, and Dusty Springfield, and it became that Memphis sound was something that drew musicians from all over the world coming there to try to recreate it.
I'll give an example. The rhythm guitar part to Time Is Tight. Two notes, pretty much through the whole song. Only two note patterns, and that's either a lot of restraint or a lot of creativity, or most people play chords on guitars.
Right.
We have time for a few more questions.
Hi, Booker. Any experiences from Macon, Georgia? I guess Otis was from Macon. But you had the Memphis thing, you had the Macon, Allman Brothers. Was there any good stories from comparing the Macon to the Memphis experience?
Not really, other than in Memphis, Jim Stewart telling Otis not to sound so much like Sam Cooke.
Did Otis ever sound like Sam Cooke?
He did.
He did?
He did before he found himself.
Huh. A higher, sort of sweeter, okay.
And possibly before he started writing.
Right.
And before that, I think he was kind of like a Little Richard type singer.
Right, that's right. Yeah, when he was in, when he was with the Pine Toppers, whatever, I think he was singing like Little Richard.
Okay, Booker, this is kind of an offbeat question here, but we're about to give birth in a month, and we put together a massive playlist of songs that we're going to be playing during our labor. A lot of your stuff is on there, but if you were to pick one song that you would want us to have our baby listen to as she's being born, which song would that be?
That would have to be Green Onions. So the baby can bop in.
Hi. What music are you listening to these days? What bands or musicians, singers, whatever, that you would like to recommend to us?
Let's see, what's the last thing? I think the last thing I listened to was maybe Ray Charles' live concert in Atlanta at that stadium. I listen to all kinds of music, especially now with Spotify. I listen to Copeland and just a lot of classical music and jazz. I love Miles Davis. Everything.
Could you describe the creative process, especially like with you being a bass player, then you had Duck Dunn playing bass, and like Porter and Hayes would give you a song, and would they just like give you a lead sheet and then say, go for it, or how would that work?
Oh, everything in between. I'll describe a song that we recorded called Baby. It's on my new album. It was written by David Porter and Isaac Hayes, and we wrestled with that thing for 2 weeks. before I took it home one night and ended up with a Motown type bass line on it and the classical type piano on it. It's just, there are no rules. There were no rules, but we just pretty much tried everything to see what would work until we were just practically sick of something, you know. That did happen with a few songs. But yeah, many times they would go through changes. Sometimes it would just fall right into place. So there's just no way to really, there's no one road we went down with a song.
Time for one more question? Anyone?
How are you doing, Booker?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think, you know, we're in a very, very interesting moment culturally. And I think along with that, of course, you're aware there's been quite a resurgence in interest in R&B, and certainly, you know, the root elements of R&B. And what would you attribute that to at this time? And I could narrow that down some also, because I know that's pretty wide.
Well, it's America's music. It's, you know, some of the few types of music that originated here in America, and it's accessible. It's very often music that will lend itself to many occasions, you know, weddings, funerals, you know, all sorts of life-giving opportunities. But it's the music of America. You know, it isn't, classical music didn't start here. The blues did. Country music started here, and R&B is kind of a mixture of those. So I think you could really call it America's music, and so I don't think it'll ever go away. I think we'll always have R&B.
Final question, Booker. There's a quote in your book. I think it may be on the jacket. It says, "I think of musicians as a brotherhood with a purpose, and our purpose is being realized right now." So if I have anything to say, it's about that. What music means to people, what we can give people with our work, whether they use it for pleasure or for spiritual events, weddings, or just living day to day. It's about connecting to each other, understanding each other. I think that you're not ever completely alone out here if you're connecting through music or art. What can we do so that is better realized?
Well, we have a great advantage now when it comes to music. We have so much more access to music than we did when I started listening to music. I had to go out to Sears Roebuck and, you know, 30 minutes away just to hear a phonograph, you know. But now we have access to practically everything because of the internet. And so while business-wise that may have made the situation difficult, as far as access goes, it's just wonderful. And music can keep us from feeling and being alone. It's a way that we connect. You know, there's a spirituality to it and an extra element to it that connects human beings.
Well, with that, thank you very much, Booker.
You're
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you for having me.